And on this Friday, July 31st, 2026 edition of Newsmakers, Hamas has confirmed that it will disarm as part of a deal announced by U.S. President Trump that also requires Israel to end its strikes and withdraw from Gaza. It marks a potential breakthrough in ending the war, but implementation faces major challenges. Hamas also said that laying down its heavy weapons, which would come later in the process, was contingent on the creation of a Palestinian state, something Israel's current government adamantly rejects. Israel has not officially commented on the deal, which is part of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire announced last October. A federal judge has dismissed a challenge to California's law aimed at preventing anti-Semitism in public schools, allowing it to remain in effect. The judge ruled the plaintiffs failed to provide sufficient evidence that the law violates free speech protections. The complaint was filed by teachers, students, and the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, which argued the measure discouraged classroom discussions about Palestinians and discriminated against Arab and Muslim perspectives. The law establishes a statewide anti-Semitism prevention coordinator and requires teachers to provide factually accurate, nonpartisan instruction. The plaintiffs are reviewing the decision while Jewish advocacy groups welcomed the ruling. Ukraine's ambassador to the Holy See says a visit by Pope Leo would provide a major boost to efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace. Ambassador Andrei Yurish made the comments after a senior Vatican official said the Holy See is seriously considering a papal visit to the country. Yurish says Ukrainians view the Pope as the foreign leader they most want to welcome and have repeatedly invited him to visit. The ambassador says recent Vatican missions to Ukraine demonstrate the Holy See's continued support for the country and its humanitarian efforts. Pope Leo has expressed solidarity with Ukrainians and called for an end to the war with Russia, as well as a just and lasting peace. A Christian missions organization says displaced Ukrainians have planted about 160 churches across Europe since Russia invaded in 2022. European Christian Mission International says many Ukrainians are embracing missionary work instead of viewing themselves only as refugees. The group says Ukrainian Baptists have established new churches as millions fled the war. Organization leaders say Ukrainian Christians are sharing their faith despite trauma, loss, and displacement. ECMI says the movement is bringing new congregations across Europe while spreading the Christian message. Christian Solidarity Worldwide is urging Nigeria's government to do more to free dozens of Christians abducted by Fulani militia. The group says 7 people were killed and 37 others kidnapped during Easter attacks on 2 churches in Oriko and Kaduna State, with 11 more abducted days later in a nearby village. CSW says some captives have died from starvation and harsh conditions while being held. The organization is calling on state and federal authorities to rescue the surviving hostages and bring those responsible to justice. Nigerian officials maintain the government does not pay ransoms, despite questions surrounding previous hostage releases. In a unanimous ruling, the Arizona Supreme Court says clergy are not required to report child abuse. Monica Nelson reports.
The Arizona Supreme Court says pastors and priests and other clergy members don't have to report child abuse if they learn about it during a private confession or other confidential conversation connected to their faith. The court said Arizona law protects those conversations, and judges cannot tell a church when it should break its own religious rules. Supporters say it protects religious freedom. Child advocates argue some abuse could continue longer because information that might otherwise reach law enforcement would remain confidential. They worry fewer reports would mean fewer opportunities for authorities to intervene and protect victims. I'm Monica Nelson.
And that's Newsmakers for this Friday, July 31st, 2026 edition. I'm Keith Black.